Welcome to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey, Eric.
That is Mark, for those who are joining us for the first time.
Hey there. Hi, everybody.
This is a Warhammer podcast.
Oh, so this is how you wanted to start it. This is our second take, and this is what you came up with.
No, okay. I'm not happy with this one either.
Oh, boy.
And joining us, we got two guests. We got Brody.
Hello.
You've been on one before with us, but it wasn't a main episode, so good to have you on a real deal.
Thanks for having me, boys.
You finally graduated?
Mm-hmm.
I passed my my initiation test.
Yeah,
here.
there is some friendship exams that you had to pass with me first before we could let you on main.
We had both those exams on that couch over there. So I think I passed, but then you didn't bring me on for a while.
They are physical exams.
They are.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
There's a paper portion, sure. But
So this is the intro you wanted, eh?
Yes.
this is more our speed.
Okay.
This is more representative of Lorehammer as a whole, I think.
It really makes sense now. I've been listening, and now I'm starting to get the visualization in my mind.
Yeah, I think I heard this. Oh, hey, guys.
Oh,
hi. Oh.
There he is.
We had you on a couple times ago, but here you are for our main one as well. So that's nice. Everyone's here. All the boys are here.
The boys are
in the
back in
hood.
town.
Oh, we went two different ways
I mean,
there.
there's so many.
Yeah, boys in the hood. Boys are back.
Both of you are actually wrong. Today we're talking about orc boys specifically. Look at that.
Orc boys.
Yeah, specifically one. Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, the prophet of the Waaagh.
The orc boy, actually.
The orc boy.
That's how you
Orc
pronounce it.
man, even some would.
The biggest orc boy.
Yeah.
He has grown into an orc man. Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
But before we get into that, go check out our Facebook, our Instagram. We do posts. Everyone knows what social media is.
They do, but they might not know that we are on social media.
Okay. So we're on social media.
Yeah. So obviously Facebook, Discord, Twitter, email. If you're that much of a boomer and you want to contact us that way.
Yeah.
But
by sending us paragraphs, and then we have to respond with like one sentence.
Right.
Type
Be like,
thing.
Cool.
Glad you liked the show.
But the big one really is our Discord.
Yeah.
If you aren't part of our community already, it's pretty great. Not only do we just hang out and have a good time, a lot of the time we also run some community events.
Oh, yeah.
Place to get some critiquing on your hobbying or advice for the stories you're writing. Or
Yeah, I have one channel on the Discord. It's called Criticism Only, and the whole point is just put your model there and watch it get torn apart. I don't like that you painted it red. It's a blood angel. I don't like it. That kind of stuff. So it's really nice if you're looking for some feedback.
That's
Not
very,
good feedback.
Some unconstructive criticism.
very good place to go if you hate yourself already.
Exactly.
So
I'm looking for a little punishment.
There's
for sure.
tons of fun
Glutton
things on
for
there.
punishment here. Loving it. Absolutely. I've just lurked. I've never really posted.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just lurk on there and I'm like, nice.
Memes.
And then memes. Yeah. And then I'm like, I should post. Nah, it's weird.
You need
It's
to
weird
post
if I post.
your Vestroyan army, man.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
I do.
Oh, and we just talked about Vestroyans the other day.
Yeah, you did. I got real horny on that one. I was like, ooh, my boys in fur hats. So it was good. It was excellent.
Okay.
But
Well, now you have to actually post.
yeah, I will.
I will be
I
watching.
will. Okay. This is awkward now.
Yeah.
I feel very trapped.
It is a trap.
I brought them today so you could look at
Oh,
them.
most excellent.
So you
nice.
get ready for that. I'll do a bunch of pictures.
So come talk to us, I guess.
Yeah,
That's the
come
point
hang
of
out
that.
on our Discord because
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to see Brody's Vestroyans.
Hopefully in the next
No.
60 hours.
Oh,
It's going to happen.
Okay.
60 hours. That's a...
That's a decent amount of time. Like, I don't know why I went with 60, not like,
You have like
24, 48.
You have like 3 days.
Okay. Okay. Start the episode, I guess.
Yeah, I think we should just really dive right in to talk about Ghazghkull,
You ever heard of
the
that guy?
prophet of the Waaagh.
That's cool.
The
That's a
wa-
nice
the
title.
Waaagh. Waaagh?
The Waaagh.
The Waaagh?
Like,
The Waaagh.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's my personal favorite.
And obviously, we're going to start off with a quote from the main boy himself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Warlord Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, and I speak with the word of the gods. I'm the prophet of the Waaagh, and whole words burn in my boot prints.
Ooh, yeah.
That's, wow.
Goosebumps.
I can't
Man.
believe we actually had Thraka in the studio.
Wow.
He's bigger than I expected. I was expecting model size
No,
Thraka. But
sure.
You guys upgraded to the biggest
Yeah.
size Thraka.
A 12-foot tall orc just walked through the door.
Yeah.
Through the door.
Through
Didn't
the door.
open the door.
No, no, no.
Roof's a little gone too.
Yeah.
But
Any wall becomes a door when you're Thraka.
Yeah.
It's a good life.
absolutely.
So obviously today we're going to focus on Thraka himself. We're going to talk a lot about his history, kind of the things he's been involved in over the years, the turning points for his orc empire.
What is he like as an orc?
Exactly.
We'll
What's
get
his
some time
what's
to
his
get to know him.
personality? Yes. Who are the people that hang around him that
Yeah.
kind of help him propel him forward? So,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple key characters in his history that we'll also be talking about too.
we're going to throw a couple names at you. But yeah, it's going to be good. This is it was an enjoyable episode to prepare.
Yeah, orcs. It's always good when you see orcs. So, Waaagh. Let's Waaagh on.
Where's Dylan?
Yeah.
I really need to meet this man, Dylan. He sounds incredible.
He's got the big D energy. you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
That big D energy.
Right.
Enough about another man's dick.
Anyways,
I thought that stood for Big Dylan energy.
Oh. Shows where my mind went, I guess.
Everybody sees what they want to see, I
See what
guess.
they want to see.
now I get to see both.
So let's talk about the origins of Thraka. Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, the self-proclaimed prophet of the Waaagh, known in the Imperium as the Beast of Armageddon, is the Ork warlord of Waaagh Ghazghkull, and currently the most notorious warboss of the 41st millennium. He's the biggest, he's the baddest, he's the greenest, and up until Prime Orks, he was the best. Oh, now you say Ghazghkull's the best, and that's that. Our story starts in M41 on the planet of Urk, a orc-populated world. Urk was originally a human-populated world, but around M32, orcs invaded and conquered Urk, leaving nothing behind except their spores. For the next 8,000 years, the orcs, or Urk, the planet, would be in constant battleground for the warring tribes of orcs. It would remain this way until the rise of a lordly orc boy, Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka. And some other side factors also come into play. So, the planet, it's just been like uncontested. Well, it's always contested, I guess, but just by orcs for 8,000 years, just battling.
Yeah, so they definitely say that they removed everything other than orcs. Does that mean like all animals as well?
No, maybe those survived.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like
the
orcs,
funny thing about orcs is they don't need anything
yeah, they got
other than orcs.
squigs and all that.
Yeah, everything they need they just bring with them and grow, right?
Yeah,
so,
they just kind of produce on their own with their spores.
yeah. So I kind of wondered if it was like they went on a literal like rampage. They were like every single animal that we
Everything.
find, everything
like
living.
That would just be very characteristic of an orc, right?
Yeah, I mean,
This
just
hummingbird,
what they are.
I'm done with this hummingbird. Crushes it.
There was other things on the planet. It was a human-owned planet originally, but there was an elder outpost on it. There's some Hrud even on it.
Oh.
So all those are gone for sure.
Yeah.
Cruddy orcs.
Spindorians. I don't think I've ever heard that, but they're a minor alien race, and they're just on that planet. That's all we know.
okay, so it really
Lex
just sounds
Cannon.
like there were a couple different races on this planet, and
Yeah.
they just were like, nope,
Nope.
yeet them off.
Yeah. We got fighting to do here.
Skedaddle, skedoodle.
A space marine force of an unknown chapter eventually raided the planet in hopes of disrupting the orc forces building up there. Yeah, you know, they're getting rowdy for 8,000 years on that planet, so...
It's just turning into a big mosh pit.
Yeah, so some space marines were sent to deal with them. During the battle, a bolter round tore into that poor orc boy's skull, destroying 30% of his skull and pulping a good portion of his brain. But this would not be his end.
Thank goodness orcs are hardy boys.
Yeah. He was found by the notorious pain boy known as Mad Doc Grotznick, more on him later, who rebuilt his skull with adamantium, creating an interesting and unknown side effect. The orc boy who was wounded was a very different orc when consciousness was regained. Everything about him seemed different. He was stronger, tougher, more intimidating, but even more alarming. He claimed to be blessed by Gork and Mork and was in communication with them.
So getting that thing in his brain
Yeah.
has kind of turned him into an antenna.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
I'm hearing voices, guys. It must be my gods.
Yeah. It's nice.
Can't be any other gods. It must be my god.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's described that like it actually unlocked his psychic potential somehow
Yeah.
and his latent psychic ability, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of you don't really hear about Ghazghkull's psychic
Yeah.
like communions, but he's actually much more involved than like you'd think a standard goth would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like he's like a weird boy
No.
shooting lightning out of his fingers or nothing like that, but like
But he actually cares about it, and he like fully believes in it and subscribes to it. Whereas most orc boys are like weird boys. Fuck that noise.
fuck those weird boys.
Yeah.
Put them out on the sticks out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Put them on their houses so they don't ed bang and explode us.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't want to die. Well, I want to die, but it's not that way.
Not like that, no.
Not like this. Not like this.
Well, at first, other orcs also laughed at Thraka, thinking him insane. Some orcs even went so far to try to kill Thraka, but the laughter all ended when Ed started getting crumbed. 6 years later, Thraka had risen to the rank of warboss of his tribe, stomping all those that had got in the way of his divine quest given to him by Gork and Mork. Which are the orc gods, if no one knows?
If we didn't
Yeah,
mention
like
that.
there's a lot of words in here, like Urk, Ork, Gork, Mork. You know, it's just there's some words. However, Thraka would not be content with just ruling one tribe and began conquering other tribes on Urk. Thraka's name spread across the planet, and the rumors of his spiritual encounter were taken more seriously. More and more tribes joined him. A year after becoming warboss of his tribe, Thraka would learn that the Ork's sun was beginning to die. The Urk's sun, the planet sun, S-U-N, Urk's sun.
Yeah, Mark and I
Yes.
were planning this episode, and he's like, "Hey, did you ever hear about the time when Thraka's son was about to die?" And I was like, "Thraka had a son?"
Yeah, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Jimbo.
This is Thraka Jr.
I was like, "He died?"
So Thraka learned that the Urk's sun was beginning to die. Massive solar flares discharged across the surface of Urk, killing many of orcs from the radiation. But this was just the beginning of the sun's death throes, and everyone knew it. The orcs on the planet were not capable of vast spaceflight, and there was no escape.
So their technology really wasn't there.
Yeah, like it's very interesting. The more we read, we got a couple lines and we'll really talk about it, but there's a good chance that there might have even been like feral orcs potentially
That's
at this
cool.
point. So the sun's gonna blow up. There's no escape. But Gork and Mork would not let their newest avatar die this way. And by divine miracle or sheer coincidence, a space hulk exited the warp and entered into the orbit with Urk. Yeah. So random luck, divine miracle.
Yeah. Were the gods looking out for him?
Hard to say.
Hard to say.
We'll keep adding this information up and get back to you. Uh-huh.
This is interesting. Plot thickens.
The plot thickens indeed.
What a
it does.
twist!
So Thraka was able to rally and unite all the orcs of Urk, proclaiming that his new ship, the one that just appeared into orbit.
But it's mine.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Who could have questioned me?
His new ship was sent by the gods and would save them. So setting foot upon his new ship, they were able to fly up there somehow. Setting foot upon his new ship, Thraka would rename it the World Killer. And when all the orcs were off the surface and onto the Space Hulk, it set sail into the stars. And it was a happy ever.
Yeah, sailed into the sunset.
Yeah.
And some beautiful
Watch the
music
sun
played.
literally die behind them as they sailed away
Yeah.
from it.
And they're like, "Wow, that was close."
Yeah.
Really glad I wasn't there.
So Thraka and his crew would travel the warp somewhat aimlessly for the next few years, and with faulty power systems, there was always companionship of the demon incursions to keep the orcs satisfied and battle-hardened. And it really brought them together as a Waaagh.
Nothing binds people together more than an enemy they can hate more than each other.
Exactly.
You know?
This is stuff of romance. We could remake a Titanic movie about this.
But Thraka was destined for more than just drifting aimlessly on the Space Hulk. But
Yeah, if you can even call Space Hulks aimlessly drifting.
oh yes, it was
Ew.
awfully convenient. Yeah. So I think
Let's go back to Urk. Yeah.
Yeah, Urk. It's such a cool place. Like it, when you're reading about it, it really sounds like a bunch of feral orcs because they definitely aren't capable of vast even interplanetary
Yeah,
flight.
it sounded like they literally had no way off the
yeah,
planet.
Yeah, and they say like they call them tribes a whole bunch. There's a bunch of little tribes. They never talk about technology level until the
Space
world
Marines.
kill.
Well,
Oh yeah.
that's my only thing
Yeah.
is Grotznik putting the plate in
Yeah.
Thraka's head.
Yeah, so we know with orcs, they kind of unlock more parts of their brain the harder the enemy is. So if they're all just fighting each other, they're good. They're content to stay in like that feral level of technology. But yeah, that orc or that space marine invasion happened. So what if it like unlocked part of their brain, and now they do know how to make tanks, and now they have learned how to actually make an airplane, and like it has jumped them up to that next technological level.
Yeah, but it definitely I see the rationality of it being feral.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's 8,000 years of them just fighting. You
Yeah.
know, they don't need massive guns or whatever
Yeah.
or big huge gargants or mech boys or whatever because they're just fighting each other.
Yeah.
And they love nothing more than just pummeling each other with their own fists.
Yeah.
Right? So I definitely see that. And I could see how this would be a feral and they're actually stuck until some divine intervention.
Yeah.
What are the chances of the Space Hulk arriving at the perfect time when the sun's about to die, right after some guy claims that he's starting to hear from Gork and Mork?
That's also very nice.
Coincidence?
I think
not.
Yeah. I'm saying the feral orcs. I don't give.
Don't at me.
Don't at me.
Yeah. This is kind of a cool thing because I never really looked at his origins before, but it really just seems random.
Yeah.
You know, like there was nothing special about him until he got a bolt shell to the brain.
Random thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Grotznik is just like, I can fix this. Here's a sheet of adamantium conveniently lying around.
Yeah.
Let me bolt it to his head.
That way the insides don't go on the
Right,
outsides.
exactly.
You don't ever want that.
Yeah.
It's internal bleeding. It's on the inside, so it's okay.
Yeah, blood stays inside.
I just imagine Grotznik like taking like the brains that are on the outside, and just like pushing them back in, and just being like molding it, be like that kind of looks like a brain, and then slapping
Yeah.
a sheet of metal over top. of
There's
it.
like another chunk that's been blasted away.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like.
Accidentally put someone else's like flesh in there, and he's like, "This was all part of it, right?"
I think
He's
this
just
is.
he's just like poking stuff in.
There's a crayon in there, like some human artifact. Like great.
An actual radio. That's how he's hearing the voices.
Exactly.
It's just Grotznik
Yeah.
whispering to him. That's nice. So yeah, he sailed off into the warp happily ever after. Let's talk about some conflicts he gets in along the way.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is the first major conflict Ghazghkull has is almost right after this.
Yeah, like it's literally he becomes Warboss, and within 6 years he leaves the planet and makes it to this battle zone.
Which is very famously known, the Second War for Armageddon.
Yeah.
And I was definitely under the impression before doing this that, like Ghazghkull's aim has been Armageddon for how long?
Sure.
But this was just random.
I think it was.
Yeah, like the Third War, which we'll get into, was very intentional.
Yeah.
But this one, he just appeared here.
He appeared, and then, he looked to his boy like, what planet is this?
Yeah.
Armageddon? Excellent. Like, that's all he needed.
Yeah. There's no more.
This planet is the one I wanted.
Yeah.
Ork and Mork provide.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you kind of look at it through that lens of, like, are Gork and Mork guiding him, right? So, I don't know. The more and more we prepared this episode, the more I preferred to look at it that way.
Yeah.
As if where Ghazghkull's actions aren't random, they're just random to everyone else because we're not orcs, you know? And we're not prophets of the Waaagh.
No. Nor we claim.
There is only one.
Yeah. So the Second War for Armageddon. So he's on this Space Hulk. He's dealing with these demon incursions that are happening, keeping his boys sharp.
Yeah.
But then he just there's Armageddon. Let's fight it.
There it is.
So very soon after the Orks would land on Armageddon, because they got there and they decided it was time for a good fight, a warp storm actually formed around the system, which effectively cut off all Imperial reinforcements. And that is also pretty coincidental.
Pretty
that
divine,
Ghazghkull's
almost.
first major, invasion was it was made sure that it was small, or that he couldn't be overrun right away. The more I look at it, the more I see divine intervention. In this. Okay, so a warp storm happens. Thraka had also spent much of the time drilling the necessity of strategy and tactics into his subordinates while they were on the world killer. And enough stuck for them to easily overtake the unprepared PDF forces.
Nice.
So there was this Armageddon overlord. His name was Herman von Straub. And he got warnings for actually a decent amount of time before the Orks arrived. The Emperor's Tarot, the choir, all the psychers start to lose their mind, and he just ignored it all these red flags, and he's like, nah, no problem, nothing's happening here, don't worry about it, go back to sleep. So part of the entire defeat of Armageddon lays at his feet too, just because he refused to signal for help or take it seriously. And one of the only cries for help before this warp storm came and cut off was famous Commissar Yarrick. Yeah, and so because he actually sent that distress signal right before the warp storms hit, it's one of the only reasons Armageddon survived the second war.
Wow, spoilers. Holy shit.
So, well, I mean, you know what, that's fair. It is a spoiler, but you're gonna learn what happens.
But it's a spoiler from a book 12 years ago.
From lore 30 years ago.
Right?
So the Orks were actually able to separate the northern and southern parts of the planet, and they cut them off from supplying each other, which was very savage.
Now, is that metaphorical, or did they actually cut the
They took a
planet
really big
into
choppa.
into a northern and a southern part?
They just went right through the planet, right through the core.
Yeah.
No, they cut them off. Ghazghkull, he divided his tribes, because he still had the 5 tribes at this point, because they were almost all from Urk.
Yeah.
And so he said, look, you're going to fight with your own tribe, and you're going to follow the battle plans that I laid out. But it was very coordinated for Orks, which is not normally what you see. And that's what makes Ghazghkull different.
Yeah.
So he cuts them off, the northern and southern parts. This, combined with piecemeal attacks from the north and von Straub, allowed the overwhelming Ork force to destroy the smaller human forces and forced von Straub to relocate his command center. So this guy who not only was taking the warnings seriously, then the Orks arrive, and he just doesn't take the threat seriously.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we can...
It's just Orks. It's just a rabble of Orks.
Yeah. But in the end, he just sends small pieces here and small pieces there, which the Orks were easily able to mop up. More human deaths, less forces for them to deal with. It's a bad spiral.
He's spiraling. Okay.
So eventually, the humans were pushed back. The main forces were sent to Hades Hive, which was commanded by Yarrick. Others to Hive Tartarus, which was von Straub. Some to Port Hell's Reach. I think Hive Acheron at this point was still considered a stronghold, but there was really only a couple places that the Orks hadn't overtaken on the planet very fast.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fighting eventually became so desperate around Hive Tartarus that the Titans of Legio Metallica were forced to sortie against Ork Gargants and 6 million Ork infantry.
That's nice.
Yeah. Eventually, in order to destroy the heart of that specific Ork offensive, the Princeps Mannheim self-destructed his badly wounded Titan, and after already destroying a couple Gargants, he just
and
took
a couple
out...
million Ork boys,
Yeah,
too.
probably.
Yeah.
He just takes out 2 more Gargants, so it was a pretty big sacrifice, but this guy, killing his Titan, really, actually saved Tartarus.
Yeah.
Because it really dampened that specific Ork offensive.
Legio Metallica.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
So by now, Ork forces were engaging all the crucial hives on Armageddon, effectively dividing the human forces and grinding them down in their glorious Waaagh.
Yeah.
So the hardest hive to crack would be Hades, which was defended by Yarick. And no matter what strategy Thraka employed, it was swiftly and effectively countered by Yarick's relentless brilliance. Thraka had little choice but to bombard the hive with unceasing fire from his gargants, while his orc boys waited for their chance to storm the city.
That's cool. That's such a cool image. You can just see like the void shields of the hive city just flickering.
Yeah, and
like,
just these gargants in a huge circle
Yeah.
around the city, just constantly firing, and orc boys
Millions
just
of them,
filling
like-
the spaces
Yeah.
between. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
that's
just death. It's death.
Yeah.
waiting for
It's
you.
an amazing scene to like look out into your head. Like it reminds me of like Lord of the Rings and like
Absolutely.
Helm's Deep and all the
Yes.
orcs coming up, and you're like, yes,
Oh, goosebumps.
glorious battle.
There was something in here, and now I haven't actually read the book, so, and I don't mean to shit on it, but there was one part when I was doing research on this that kind of I did not appreciate very much.
Okay.
And it was talking about because Ghazghkull was trying his hardest to infiltrate this hive, and it just wouldn't work. So
Yeah.
he had this one plan of sending in a bunch of orc commandos through. Right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to tell this story.
Yeah.
He's sending a bunch of orc commandos through some ventilation shafts, and orc commandos are, first of all, they're fucking orcs.
Yeah. They're 8 foot tall, muscle bound men with
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have commandos, which are like smarter than regular orcs, like better prepared, better equipped, more able to handle things on their own. Like these are your like elite orc warriors, really. So he sends them in and he's like, look, you need to infiltrate this city and, cause as much discord from the inside as mayhem. So they, turn their attention inward and then we can try and force a breach through the outward, which is like a really smart like that's a solid plan. And Yarick is like, no, you know what's going to stop this? I'm going to get some maintenance crews, give them bolt pistols and knives,
Perfect.
and they are going to stop the orc commandos. And it says not a single orc commando survived.
Oh.
But I'm like, if all you need is maintenance crews with bolt pistols to
So
fight,
where did all those bolt pistols come from?
what's yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Guardsmen don't have bolt pistols.
They have las guns. Or Yarick's like, I've been holding out from everyone. Here's my secret stash.
The trained army are like, can we have some of those good weapons?
And he's like,
too,
no,
please?
maintenance crews only.
Hey, maybe he was onto something. Maybe he's not worried about these guys because the bolt pistols are just that good.
Yeah, I guess.
I could
Like,
give this
guys,
baby
don't worry
an
about it. Don't worry about it.
like,
Yeah, like I haven't read how that actual scene goes down, and I'm sure they give more credit to the orcs.
Oh yeah,
than
and I'm
what
sure maintenance workers are dying by the dozens.
Yes,
but
if not by the hundreds.
he doesn't specify how many maintenance.
Right,
It
yes.
could have been all of the maintenance.
all the hive,
For all you know, there have
1
been 5.
billion maintenance workers.
Wait,
One
why do you have
bolt
many bolts?
pistol.
Oh, just one. When right before one dies, he throws it to the other one, and right
Yeah.
before that one dies,
It's like extreme rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood Bowl rugby style. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
It's nice. Yeah, that's a fun story for sure.
yeah, it's one of the few in here that I was really like, come on. But yeah, so it's there's more things that Ghazghkull tried to do, but that was just one thing he tried, and apparently he just couldn't crack it. And he was even receiving instructions from Gork and Mork with advice on how to
Oh, that's cool.
how to
Try
crack
this
this.
next.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it might have just been, you could say, oh, it was Ghazghkull's inspiration, but, orcs aren't like, I don't know, a lot of them lack some of that inventiveness and like that spontaneity, creativeness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like tactics,
Ghazghkull seems to have it, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, here we go. Let's go back to the actual story.
Point 6.
Okay, yes. So he couldn't crack Hades' hive, and he just had to bombard it. It was a siege.
Yeah.
So Port Hell's Reach, it was another hive on Armageddon, and it was emboldened by the stalwart defense of Hades' hive and dug in very heavily. They sent suicide bombers, actually, to infiltrate deep into Orc territory when they realized that they couldn't evacuate all their citizens.
Yeah.
You know, they knew they could get a certain amount of people out, and then they were just like, you know, there's no room for anyone else, so let's just make this our last stand. You know, let's die as, you know, men are supposed to do, and like people of the Imperium, like as you're duty bound to.
Yeah. On your feet, flying into an enemy.
That's right, running with bombs strapped to your chest at the enemy. So yeah, they sent suicide bombers to infiltrate deep into Ork territory, and then they used their large loading cranes to fight the Gargans. So that's a weird
image.
Yeah,
I
these cranes
enjoy
just
it, though.
smashing into these Gargans. Yeah. It really reminded me of that one guy. So they welded themselves in, so like the Orks couldn't, like, you couldn't shoot them or whatever. They're just like, here's plates of like shit. Let's just weld them in. You're pretty much gonna stay there until you die. So let's make it as hard as possible to crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really reminds me of that guy. So it must have been like 10 years ago, maybe even 15
I know who
years.
we're talking about.
He was it like a tractor?
It was a killdozer.
A killdozer?
It
Yeah.
was like a big bulldozer that he like made into
He put like
this-
cement all around.
Yeah, he encased himself in cement and like steel plating.
So that's what this exactly reminded me of.
Kill cranes.
Steel cranes.
Yeah.
I just think of them like they modified like all like the big stones for like lifting
Yeah, the
like,
wrecking balls?
wrecking balls and like put like spikes on them.
Oh.
or like
yes.
Packed it with explosives.
exactly. That's what I'm like.
Yeah.
And get another one and just whoosh.
Man, those maintenance workers, they're on it.
They're thinking.
They're killing commandos. They're building new machines.
Do we even need PDF?
I
Or
mean,
guard at this point? When
No.
regular humans can do it.
They train you to get dumber in the guard.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't think like this.
I think these guys could probably take on a Primaris. Just saying.
Right? Exactly.
It's 1-to-1. That's my ratio. Yeah.
Random Armageddon citizens.
right.
Trained
Maintenance workers.
Primaris.
Specifically maintenance
Yeah,
workers.
Oh, sorry. One trained Armageddon maintenance worker.
That's right. Versus a melee intercessor. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
next
assault
army.
intercessors got no chance.
Yeah.
My next army is just going to be maintenance workers, but there's
Just a bunch of people in like
one bolt
frumpy
pistol.
uniforms.
I'd
They're all
like
just
one
wielding
bolt pistol.
Yeah, like crowbars and like screwdrivers.
I want
and
one of them to have a mop. One of them has a mop.
Yeah.
Come here. I'll smack you.
And it was actually quite surprising how well Port Hell's Reach did with all this stuff. You know, they're just
I'm surprised by it.
yeah, like a lot of times when you back things into corners, that's when you see how truly like vicious, you know, they can be. So you back these humans into a corner and they'll suicide bomb the hell out of you
Oh my God.
and kill crane you.
Great.
But eventually, Port Hell's Reach was overwhelmed by a huge psychic attack, which destroyed many of the humans still defending Port Hell's Reach. I wish there was more information about this psychic attack, about where it originated from and whose plan it was. And
yeah.
I love seeing like the ritual behind it. You know,
Yeah.
how many weird boys did it take in concerted effort to like build up this Waaagh energy? How was it released? You know, was it just a massive Ed bang aimed right at the humans or something? So
Yeah, and once again, that's just like another thing where it's like that divine little bit of like, okay, so Gork and Mork are like now channeling their energy into this weird boy so they can unleash one final volley or whatever.
yeah, like how involved are they
Yeah,
in
they
this?
could potentially be very involved.
Absolutely, yeah.
I keep going back to like Gork and Mork are actual real entities, just like Korn, just like Slanish, like that you can actually talk to them.
Yeah, and that's pretty recently.
Yeah.
That they are confirmed that, but it really changes a lot of how you view Ork religious interactions.
Yeah.
So it definitely
And
did for
it's-
me.
Yeah, and it's changed completely how I view Ghazghkull as well.
When I heard you guys say that on the podcast, I was like, "There's no way they read that and it's wrong." And so like I looked, I was like, "Checks out, cool.
Checks
out.
Yeah.
We got the Brody check of approval. Perfect.
And I was like,
Fact checked.
stamp of approval. Yeah, but it really surprised me. I'm like, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that they're so ancient too. Like, it's like,
How old would they be? Yeah,
They'd be-
60 million years?
they'd be older than the Chaos Gods.
Oh, way older.
yeah, way older. And so it's like, okay, Papa Gork and Mama Ork Mork are gonna be, you know, having a good time, and like all their little like I just think of them like looking down on the Chaos Gods and be like, oh, they're so cute.
No, they're so cute with their
Like,
little wars.
Their little wars. I could take you all on.
Yeah. So psychic attack. What happened next? I'm so engaged.
So okay, so Hell's Reach has fallen, unfortunately. But as the Hades siege continued, the Orks advanced on the last bastion of hope, Hive Acheron. The people in Acheron had prepared as best they could, and were watching the Orks advance through the outer hive because it's a green tide, and if you're not ready, prepared, or you don't have the right stuff, unfortunately, it's just a matter of orc numbers outweighing whatever you throw at them.
Yeah.
So they breached into the outer hive, and apparently it was quite easy for them to do it. So all the citizens retreated into the inner hive area, and they're waiting, and it's kind of just like waiting to die at that point. They're watching the orcs advance, and all of a sudden, the orcs were thrown into disarray. Orbital bombardments began to thunder through the orc ranks.
Oh my god.
And Astartes drop pods smashed into the city and just rained like rocks just coming from the sky. And Blood Angels chapter had arrived to drive back Thraka's army, and they were easily driven out of the hive. This was the Orcs' first defeat, really, in this entire war. Now, with the Siege of Hades still underway, the Orcs began to fight a much more difficult battle. So the Orc forces were slowly but surely pushed back by the Space Marines.
I just get that image, man, of fucking drop pods smashing through, like, hive spires, and then they're crumpling, and, like, the sheer chaos of that.
How much of the city did they just destroy to get there?
Exactly. They just orbital bombard the city. Like,
So good.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a nice picture.
Yeah. Especially because Space Marines don't really give a shit. So they're just like,
yeah, the space. Oh my god!
One of the people on the ship or whatever is like, it's going to be danger closer, and the guy's like, and
That's fine.
it's not my city. Send it down. Yeah. And soon the Blood Angels were actually joined by Ultramarines and Salamanders.
Cool.
However, Thraka had taken control of such major supply routes along the whole planet that the people couldn't be fed. They had cut off the north from the south, and previously the south had been supplying the north, and so they cut that off, and the north, people were dying regardless of, ground being taken back by these Space Marines.
Save me, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. So one of the great things is that it's like the people had to survive on rats and roaches. And I'm reading this and I'm like, yeah, but don't they normally eat corpse starch? Wouldn't you rather
Only
eat
in the morning for breakfast?
Yeah, wouldn't you rather eat rats than human? Like
Just the guy comes up. Ode to rats. That's excellent. Don't mind if I do.
It's pretty cool too. Like this part in the war, you learn a lot about salamanders specifically and their engagements in it, and they really get a lot of their flavor about like helping humans from this battle and stuff, and for being like as good as Space Marines can be.
Sure, people that actually care about
Yeah.
humans, not just like war and your honors and everything.
Yeah, so there are people starving. There's engagements where the salamanders will specifically go rescue people just to feed them, and then they leave and then they die. But it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So
Can't save everyone.
no.
Hearts and minds. Hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, because these supply routes are contested, the planet just couldn't survive a more prolonged war. The Space Marines are here and they're gaining ground, but it's just not fast enough to save the people. So in a desperate gamble to retake Tartarus Hive, which was under control of Thraka and his army, Commander Dante of the Blood Angels organized a shock assault with the intent of capturing or killing Thraka. But more of Ghazghkull's luck showed up. Luck? Divine intervention.
Providence.
He just happened to be touring the front lines at this time and was absent when the attack came. But Space Marines being Space Marines, they're gonna Space Marine. and they space marined all over these orcs. You know?
Space good space marine.
Yeah, and apparently they did do like some pretty big damage. I mean, when Dante's in the middle of orcs, he's
I just imagine them like walking around like killing orcs, like Space Marine, Space Marine,
Space marine.
like I'm just gonna Space Marine you.
I
little
saw what
Space
you
Marine.
did, Space Marine. That was good Space Marine.
Right? Like, that's all I think about when you said like Space Marine's gonna Space Marine.
I'm still thinking about Thraka taking a tour of the front lines. Like most,
I love that.
Yeah, just
it's
like
like
tours
a
like
very un-orky thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I just imagined like World War II, like German general at the front line, like very good Hans, except it's Thraka going, good job, Macari. Way to carry the flag.
Yeah, it's honestly like I like to imagine all the weird things Thraka does are just impulses that are given to him by Gork and Mork.
Sure.
You know, like get on this world killer.
Yeah.
You know, like land on Armageddon, assault it.
Yeah.
Like drill your strategy and your tactics. Go check your front lines. They're just
Yeah.
these things that he does. Maybe he can't explain, but
Yeah, he might not even fully be aware even.
exactly,
that
he
he's
just
doing
thinks
it. He
it's
might be.
just him.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe he's actually getting told from the gods, and
Yeah.
yeah.
He might
Anyways,
think it's the gods. Who knows? He's a crazy orc.
so these blood angels, they try to kill or capture Thraka. It fails, but they still do got lots of damage. So eventually, the Imperial forces were able to back the main orc force into the hive city Tartarus, where the orcs ran out of food and ammunition. So they kind of pushed them back into the hive, and then they cut off their supply lines.
And then they got sieged, so then it was a siege of a siege of a siege.
Yeah. Yo, dog. We heard you liked Armageddon sieges.
That's fantastic.
So these orcs are now, like, the main orc army is now sequestered on, Hive Tartarus.
Yeah.
And the hive gets stormed, and all the orcs are actually driven out or killed.
Wow.
So they put them all together, and Space Marines and Guard are just like, all right, here it is. Let's end it.
Yep.
And it would take some time, but eventually all the orcs on the planet were rounded up and killed with the help of an entire contingent of squats.
Ooh, yeah. Very nice.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently there was a squat world, Golgotha, which was decently close. And there was an inquisitor there who had been dealing with some other things, and he heard the distress signal sent out by Yarick way at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so he rounded up these squats, and he was like, let's go help them out. And eventually the squats arrived, and
Did some stuff.
yeah.
They have like these massive land trains that they drive around Armageddon, just blasting any orcs they see.
Yeah, apparently they literally were just driving around the planet on these trains, being like, those are some orcs. Choo-choo, motherfucker. Choo-choo.
Fantastic. I want all the squats on Armageddon now.
Yeah, so if you're on our Patreon, we do a video feed, and you can watch for $2. So we have pictures up here.
What?
Yeah, so they just drive around in these land trains, just fucking blasting orcs and like
That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
squat's gonna squat.
Squat's gonna squat, do squat things.
Here comes the train.
Yeah, they got choo-choo trains and axes in my mind.
Yeah.
Time to lay down some hate.
Yes, that is
So-
how they all talk.
Lay down some heat, boys. Rock and stone.
Rock and stone.
So eventually they kind of just clean up the
Yeah.
orcs. They get rid of all of them. There's even rumors that Ghazghkull Thraka had died with another bolt round to the brain. But only a fool listens to rumors when no body is ever found.
Yeah. I can just imagine like the guards sitting in the trenches, like telling each other.
Did you hear?
Ghazghkull's finally dead,
Yeah.
bolted to around. And then the next guy to him's like, no, that's how he was born or something.
Yeah.
That happened to him already. Like,
I mean, people are just building his
Yeah.
legend
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
as it grows, as like through this whole battle. But so this, and it's not even described really how Ghazghkull escapes or how many of his orcs actually make it off the planet.
Yeah.
But he does somehow get back to World Killa
yeah.
and leave the planet. But this is his first engagement ever.
Pretty much, yeah. First battle not fighting demons or orcs.
Yes, exactly. This
Large
is...
engagement with planning and moving pieces and...
So I'm going to say he did pretty good.
Not bad.
For an orc with not a lot of
If those
invasion
squats
experiences.
didn't show up, he would have had it.
Squats definitely, they tipped the scale.
They tipped it.
If there's anything squats are good at, it's putting the finishing touches on a battle.
Gotta love them squats.
But yeah, that was his first engagement. And then, he's on the world Killa and floating through space.
Yeah.
And the next thing I guess we're going to talk about, Brody's going to read for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the Battle of Golgotha.
The Battle of Golgotha.
So yeah, Battle of Golgotha. After his defeat during the Second War for Armageddon, Thraka became obsessed with capturing it. But before he would attack, he decided he needed a better way of equipping his armies. So he took his army to Golgotha system, and with the intention of capturing Piscina... What the heck Roman numeral is that?
4.
4, thank you. I don't know Roman numerals.
That's fine.
You're not Roman. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not 3. 3 is the normal one that
simple. And enslaving their population to make weapons.
So, again, this is one of the huge differences between Thraka and other people.
Yeah.
He analyzed his defeat, and he's like, look, one of the only reasons I lost is because they kind of... put all of us on Hive Tartarus. They, maneuvered us there, cut off my supply, and then I ran out of food and ammo. But he's like, maybe if I didn't run out of those, I would have been fine. So,
Yeah.
and he's like, okay, next time I do this, I'm gonna need, supplies and ways to get that. So, this is what he's gonna do.
Yeah, and that's interesting that he's goes for weapons first. He's like. Weapons first, food later. I can eat other orcs. It's fine.
Right, yeah. I can always just eat a
they
squig.
grow pretty much on trees, these orcs, right?
Exactly, right?
You just eat them anytime you want.
Yeah. So, with his overwhelming firepower and powerful gargants, he took the planet within weeks. But unknown to him, Yarick, with the help of High Marshal Helbrecht of the Black Templars, had followed him there. Yarick attempted to kill Thraka once and for all and rid the orcs of their fearless leader, but instead was captured by orc forces and brought to Thraka. He was tortured for weeks at Thraka's hand, but ultimately decided he would rather face him on the battlefield instead.
Ooh. This is another interesting thing about Thraka. He seems to work with a lot, maybe not work with, but he appreciates humans to some degree at least.
He's allied with more humans than any other orc.
There's 3 or 4 examples even as we go through of him working with humans or enslaving humans or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just... There's things that he does that are just so un-orky, but that are pretty beneficial to their cause. I don't know. It really leans into the whole. He's getting information from somewhere else that really helps him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then he also makes weird decisions, like releasing
after
Yarick.
weeks of torture.
Yeah. He's like,
what's the actual purpose? Why wouldn't you just kill Yarick? I mean, he claims it's because, it would be good fun or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a weird thing.
That is,
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
No.
I'd be like, torture, kill.
Yes.
And death would come, but it would not be torture.
Yeah. Now I give gift.
Exactly, right? So, Thraka released Yarick with the promise that he would be back to Armageddon to finish what he started, and 7 years later, he kept his promise.
Wow. Yeah. So the Battle of Golgotha kind of just... I like that it goes to show how Ghazghkull analyzes his previous battles, and he's trying to make up for the deficiencies in his previous ones by preparing himself for the future, which doesn't sound like an orky thing to me.
Yeah.
So I like that. I also like that, it shows a little more interaction between Yarick and Thraka.
Yeah. What do you think was going through Yarick's head?
Being released, tortured,
and then released.
Released is
released.
Everything I know about orcs is now being questioned. What?
Excuse me, Thraka.
Yeah.
You forgot to give me back my medal. I won that defending Armageddon against you.
And my power claw.
Where's my power claw? Do you guys want me to keep going?
Nope.
Okay.
No, yeah.
We've tried you out. We didn't like it.
That's fair.
Josh, thanks for showing up.
I've been told I have a voice for TV, so
I know I'm listening to this as soon as possible. Third war for Armageddon. 57 years to the day of the Second War for Armageddon, Thraka once again brought war to the planet. In very un-Orky fashion, Thraka decided to take his defeat at the Second War and learn from it. Did we already read this?
Nope.
Okay. He determined that his lack of supplies lines was a huge contributing factor. Cool. I really like that because, like, this is a very crazy orc. Like, is this like the next evolutionary step of orcs that's coming through? Do you think?
Like people are assuming he eventually will become like a prime orc or whatever, but
Yeah, because you definitely, old orcs definitely, like, you see examples of the bigger and better they get, they actually get much smarter as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a sign of intelligence could be a sign of growth.
sure. Yeah, it's crazy too how long Armageddon was laid to siege for.
that-
Do we
well,
have an
whole
exact
planet.
number? I'm gonna go
whole
look. Keep
planet.
reading.
Sure,
I'm gonna
yeah,
look
yeah.
for a number.
Through the history. So prior to engaging Armageddon, Thraka employed the great Mac boy Orchimedes to craft teleportas for him. Then he gathered one of the largest Waaghs ever. He was ready to put Armageddon to the flame.
Yeah, so I don't think he actually got Piscina 4 to, like, enslave the planet. You know, Yarrick and Helbrecht showed up and stopped him. So then he decided he needed, like, a new way to get supplies, and so he decided to go the teleporta route with Orchimedes, who's a pretty famous mech boy.
Yeah.
I always giggle when I hear Orchimedes.
Oh,
Orchimedes?
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I was like,
Thraka brought his army to the system, and it was so large that the Imperial forces scrambled to shore up their defenses. Overall, the defenses were composed of Imperial Guard, Collegia Titanica, Sisters of Battle, and more than 20 Space Marines chapters.
Wow.
That's a huge number.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's
That's
massive.
offensive.
So you can tell that the humans learned also the first time.
Yeah, just we need more people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang, that's hefty.
Yep.
6 weeks after arriving in the system, Ork rocks began to smash into the planet. In addition, Thraka directed an asteroid to collide with Hades' hive, killing millions. But we think it should be billions of innocents. That makes sense to me. After the initial asteroid assault, Orks began to pour out of the rocks. Not only that, but the endless stream of heavy equipment also appeared out of the rocks. Thraka now had his teleporta supply lines.
Yeah. So honestly, he's like, Hades Hive couldn't take it last time. Not gonna have to this time.
Exactly. Don't need to.
Yeah, it's wild. It honestly just redirecting an asteroid and sending it into that entire hive. They say millions died, but
Yeah.
it should be billions
Yeah.
of people, like, living in these hives at one time. So
Yeah, you would think it would be
it's
millions.
a lot of people that he just was like, fuck you.
So am I getting this right? So he had a bunch of rocks. He launched a bunch of rocks, asteroids, all over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
When those rocks landed and impacted, they kind of opened up, and then teleporter systems were built into them already.
So it doesn't clarify whether boys were in the rocks waiting or whether there were teleporting systems in the rocks. But they definitely did have teleporter systems to bring all their heavy tech. But it's also possible that it was boys being transported through these teleporting lines as well.
Yeah.
But they say so the rock started happening, and a lot of the people just assumed that was just an attack. They didn't figure that this was just the first stage of his invasion, is that he was sending down his troops already in these rocks. Yeah. And they apparently used, like, big force fields to, like, slow their descent at some point. And yeah, it's very, like,
They put a lot of science into rocks for sure to make it work.
So, like, but was that maybe part of the divine intervention that he was getting, because they put these force fields up to slow their descent, so it made the orcs safer.
yeah. So that was why I
That
thought
was-
the orcs might be in the rocks, because they do talk about how they used the force fields to soften the impact of when these rocks landed.
Yeah.
Which obviously still did crazy damage, you know. But,
Yeah.
I do like to think that they were just these massive hollowed out rocks.
They do have those for sure.
And then with teleporters inside, and then that's how they brought a bunch of like their machinery in now.
Yeah.
And it was like that's his instant fix from last time. He's like, great, now I can teleport anything pretty much anywhere I need it to be.
Yeah, supply lines no longer a problem.
Exactly.
Not running out of food, not
Yeah,
running out
yeah.
of ammo. Did you ever? Of course, you've played the Space Marine game, but in Space Marine, at one point you travel through some rocks, and it's so cool. Like there's just wires everywhere, and it just looks so neat.
Yeah, very, very
Great
cool.
game. 10 out of 10.
Oh, there's a picture of it right there. Even boom.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Okay.
That's neat.
Love that game.
Space Marines.
If that wasn't enough, feral orcs had sprung from the spores. Did I already read this?
Nope. Yeah, you're reading the right one.
Okay, if that wasn't enough, feral orcs had sprung from the spores left during the Second War, and now they also answered the call of the Waaagh and joined the assault.
That's
oh
cool.
my goodness.
Oh, damn.
That seems like a pretty big fail oversight for the humans on Armageddon.
Right?
Yeah,
What do you do,
Armageddon
though?
is just so mismanaged.
you have to cleanse the planet.
With flame.
With flame.
Yeah.
Exterminatus.
Glass that bitch.
Like they had 50 years to at least try and cull the feral orcs or reduce the population as much as possible. But it honestly sounds like these orcs were unchecked because Armageddon is also not a very hospitable place, you know. And so there's an entire like equatorial like
Jungle.
ring around the planet, that's kind of just nobody goes there.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of the orc spores lived and matured. And I don't know, I just think that
Do you know why that nobody goes there?
Why?
tell me.
It's the first war of Armageddon. That's where they had all the chaos incursions.
Yeah.
And they have all these like chaos shrines and everything. So everybody equates the equator with all these chaos shrines, and they don't like going there because it still has residual warp energies.
It feels like they
That's
shouldn't
cool.
be on Armageddon.
Yeah.
Well, no, they should not. It's
many
got
times
some
has that
bad
planet been
things
sieged,
happening.
man?
It's actually been sieged more because this isn't even like an original planet. This is Ulanor.
Yeah, this is the original.
This is a
orc
planet that it used to be in a completely different part of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And the Mechanicum were like, let's move this. So they teleported it.
Yeah, instead of destroying it, they're like, we want to research it, and so they
Yeah.
like pop it into a different system. Like, this is Armageddon
Exactly,
now.
yeah.
And
it went through some rebranding.
yeah,
Why would you
rebranding a
rebrand
planet.
it that? That
Oh
just
my
seems like you're
goodness.
asking
Yeah,
for trouble.
We're going to rebrand you to Doomsday.
Oh, thanks.
This is what we really want
This
you
is
to
great.
represent.
This is
Thank
really
you.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like...
But wait. If you join the guard, you'll join the Armageddon Steel Legion. Oh, fucking God!
Yeah,
what a sick
that's what I wanted!
Yes, guard duty.
Yeah, honestly,
Steel Legion.
I think they should have done a better effort, at least to keep the feral orcs under control. I
I
definitely
agree.
see
That's
that.
so cool, though, that
It's a
they had
mistake.
shrines and stuff. I never knew that. Very neat.
Yeah.
I also remember hearing about, after reading the Hell's Reach book, the only reason that they didn't lose to the planet in the Hell's Reach book, lose the planet in the book, is because of volcanic eruptions or something. Like
That's
messed up the
actually
atmosphere.
in the third war for Armageddon. These
Yeah.
volcanic things. They go through these seasons in Armageddon where it's like very hot and then very cold, and they last forever. You know,
Yeah.
it's like one season lasts 7 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and it
My
just like
God.
creates a lull in the battle, so no one can fight. They can only reinforce for the time.
Yeah,
being.
yeah. But there was
Ooh.
massive like volcanic activity and increased temperature, and it kind of just halted everything. Yeah.
For the beginning of the war, it looked bleak for the Imperial forces. That is, until the temperature rose and became too unbearable even for the orcs to remain outdoors. At this point, the orc offensive slowed considerably.
I mean,
I'm
that's
so
literally
happy
what
with
we
that.
just talked about. That's the season of fire, I think, is what it's
That's
called.
so cool.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so happy about that. I feel so good knowing these things. As battles raged across the planet, it was clear that the Imperial forces were prepared for the prolonged siege. They were determined to hold out until either the orcs broke or the reinforcements would arrive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big difference in this battle is this war is they were actually prepared for the siege, and they were like, okay, like, you know, we don't necessarily have to beat these orcs, we just have to outlast them, and eventually, you know, they'll fuck off.
They probably just took all their maintenance workers.
Get the hell out of here.
Just like, all right, guys, you're guard now.
All right, maintenance workers, get to it.
You come from the vaunted maintenance workers of Hades Hive, who withstood the orc commandos in the Second War.
There's like 3 of like the descendants there. They're like, it was awful. My grandfather won't talk about it anymore.
It's the grandchildren have the 1,000-yard stare. It's a generational thing. Neither opponent suited Thraka, and so, growing bored with his stalemate that became the Third War for Armageddon, he abandoned his forces. Tasking them with breaking the Imperial armies, he left to find his fate elsewhere.
So this kind of feels a little weird, and I think the main reason is just how the writing progressed, because the Third War for Armageddon was kind of where the Ghazghkull sat currently for a lot of years.
Sure, up until 8th edition.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
the setting.
He was there for like 6 editions or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was all just Armageddon with all these Space Marines, you know, and
Yeah.
Helbrecht was there and Yarrick was there, and then they advanced the story, obviously, with the advent of 8th.
And the Great Warp Rift. And
Exactly,
all that
yeah, and
replaced him.
so much happened, so they kind of needed to remove Ghazghkull from there so he could be in other places, but they didn't necessarily want to finish the Armageddon War.
Yeah, Armageddon's
Yeah.
still happening even. Yeah.
Yeah, he's left, but he's charged his forces with, no, you gotta, you know, break this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, and I definitely was under this impression that Ghazghkull had some weird obsession with Armageddon, and you know, he's been there forever. How long is he
Yeah.
just going to keep fighting? But after actually doing this episode, I'm not sure I feel that way anymore. Like, he showed up there randomly the first time.
And he was only there for 2 years. The
first-
second war was
Yeah.
only 2 years long.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, okay, I'm just going to go back and try and take it one time.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have this Third War for Armageddon, and then eventually he's like, yeah. So
It sucks. I'm gonna leave.
yeah, he definitely isn't as like invested as in Armageddon
Yeah.
as I had always assumed he was.
That's fair. Me too.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So he leaves.
He leaves. Yeah, and he's fuck this shit, I'm out. And he,
You know, I'm out.
pretty much. So he leaves, and what ends up happening next to him is the Battle of the Haunted Gulf. So even though Thraka left Armageddon so quickly, there are still those that were able to pursue him. His old friend Yarrick and Helbrecht were able to catch up and corner Thraka in the barren zone of space called the Haunted Gulf. Faced with both an Imperial Navy and Space Marine fleet, the Ork forces were mauled in ship-to-ship combat, despite crippling several Imperial battleships. With Killwrecker surrounded, the forces of the Imperium prepared a boarding action, when a wave of Weird Boy generated green energy issued forth from Ghazghkull's ship and shuts down all the systems aboard Imperial ships.
I love this moment. It was
Yeah.
one of the coolest Thraka moments that I've ever read.
Yeah.
And it's new. Like, it's very, very new, obviously.
So you're on the Imperial ship. You're just like, you see that wave wash over you, all your ships
Coming
shut down.
through space.
Like, yeah,
Just this
and
Right.
in like the moment of your victory too, you got this guy surrounded like the craziest orc warlord of all time. You got him in your greasy little fingers. Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, on the Killwrecker.
on the Killwrecker Bridge, Thraka received a message from the Weird Boys, apparently from Gork and Mork themselves. The greenskin gods told him that this was not his time to die, and that the whole galaxy must echo to the battle cry of orcs. They charge Ghazghkull with gathering a Waaagh like no other, and to do this then, he must first defeat every other major orc warlord, and bring their forces under his sway. Upon uniting the orc race, he was commanded to lead them in battle that would last forever. Thraka would become the warboss of the Great Waaagh. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Okay.
Let's unpack that.
The scene in the ship is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, so all his weird boys, and Thraka surrounds himself with weird boys. He's one of the few war bosses who actually keeps them very, very close to him. In fact, probably the only other time you're ever going to get that many weird boys is a Weird Waaagh.
Sure.
Right? Like, nobody loves weird boys as much as Thraka because he understands that psychic connection, which is to Gork and Mork.
Yeah.
So he has these weird boys on his bridge, and apparently just as one, they all just like light up in like green energy, and it just like flows and bursts out of everything they have.
Yeah.
And this message like slowly comes to him, but they can't handle whatever energy is flowing through them. So they all just start to explode.
Yeah, like the first guy's like, Gork, and then his head explodes. Then the next guy's like, and boom, his head explodes.
But yeah, it's just like to be in the middle of whatever swirling energy and at like the epicenter of that like focus, and oh man, that would be so insane.
In Age of Sigmar, they show Waaagh energy very cool.
Oh yeah, how that like green light.
Yeah, there's always like this green kind of hue surrounding them. It's described too with Thraka that he also generates a light that orcs can see across. I forget the distance of space, but they say across the solar system or something, that he himself is emitting that. And then the weird boys are emitting it as well, and yeah.
It just, the more and more you read, the more you kind of are forced to say, well, Gork and Mork, you know?
Gork and
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Nothing kind of makes sense other than some kind of Gork and Mork's intervention. Yeah. You know what that light kind of reminds me of?
What?
The Emperor. He also shone a light that could be seen across star systems.
I was also thinking that. That was. Yeah.
I guess if one warp capable-ish person can do it, why not a bunch? Yeah.
I wonder if it's intentional on Thraka's part.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Warboss is also just gonna warboss.
Exactly, yeah. Orcs also can just tell who is the most powerful and bigger, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, like Thraka is blessed.
Yeah.
You know,
Hashtag blessed.
too blessed to be stressed, you know? Live, laugh, crump.
Have crump.
There's no love.
No.
He's crumping.
Live, laugh, crump.
Oh, man. I love that image of, like, everyone else now can witness Gork and Mork communing with Thraka. I think for the most part, it's all just, they told me this.
Yeah.
Listen to me because I'm big and strong.
Yeah.
But now everyone gets to see, like, no, this guy is actually being told what to do and directed by these gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, massive green energy burst shoots out of the world killer. And with the Imperial ships, they get all temporarily disabled. And Thraka is actually able to open a warp portal and disappear into it. Now, this part's kind of interesting, too, because I don't know if he opens one or if one opens up for him. It almost reads like one opens up for him.
Yeah. When was the last time you knew that orcs had the technology to create stable warp rifts?
Yeah, normally they're just traveling around on space halls. Whoop.
Exactly.
So, it really reads like, a warp hole opens up for him. He's able to escape into it. And all Yarrick and Helbrich could do was scream into the void as they watched the Warboss escape. Thraka!
I'll get you next time, Thraka!
Exactly.
You're meddling, kids.
So, as much as I love Helbricht,
Yeah.
I don't have a particular love for Yarrick. I'm not like a guards person or whatever.
You
but
shut your dirty mouth.
I know it. Lots of people love him. But
Right.
I'm like a Black Templar guy, and I love Helbricht. As much as I love him, though, he feels very impotent.
Sometimes.
This is the third time that he's chased Thraka, and Thraka has escaped. Now, I like that Thraka escapes. I'm not super keen that it's Helbricht that he's escaping from.
On the plus side, like Helbrich is described as like one of the best like fleet commanders in the entire Imperium.
Yes.
So at least he did get this nice moment where he technically won.
Yes, I like that things happen that are beyond Helbrecht's control or outside of his calculations.
Exactly. It's not just like he fought Thraka
and Thraka won.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more just like he had Thraka and then godly intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a hand of God.
It's still sad.
Yes.
You never want to see our boys fail, you know?
No, I want Helbrick to get that green skin and fucking turn on a new one.
Right? Like him and Terry the Templar can like convene at night and
We're
say,
going to get him.
we go get him.
Go get him, boss.
Yeah. Helbrecht. Poor boy.
Yeah. So Thraka escapes again.
Wow.
But he escapes with a new calling. He's called to start the Great Waaagh.
Yeah, and a battle cry that echoes across the galaxy, and every orc would battle for eternity.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty great time for them.
Yeah.
They're all excited about this.
So he disappears into the warp, and the next time he's kind of seen is Octarius.
Yeah.
So the Octarius is an orc empire that was... it's one of the oldest and largest orc empires, actually.
Is it the one with like the overfiend of?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Overfiend is like the title that's
Yeah.
given to the leader of this empire.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's in the system of Ultramar, I believe. Or like whatever. It's in
The
like
500
Ultramarine.
worlds.
Like,
The Ultima
controlled-
Segmentum?
Yes,
maybe?
it's in the Ultima Segmentum.
Sure.
And then it's described as almost being as big as the Ultramar.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So,
so they
it's
got
huge.
That's cool.
It's absolutely massive, and these
Wow.
orc worlds are just all over this place, and they're
Yeah.
just, they're led by a single guy. So Thraka goes there because it's the biggest. And where do you start? By the easiest way to like get everyone together is beat the biggest orc,
Yeah.
right? So
Makes sense.
he actually goes there, and I'm assuming with the intention of following through and actually beating the shit out of this orc and taking
Yeah.
over his Waaagh.
Yeah.
But he arrives there right in the middle of they're in this massive war with High Fleet Leviathan.
Sure.
And it's been going on for a decent amount of time, and they're actually losing.
Oh.
Kind of badly, yeah. So he finds them in their time of need.
Yeah.
And he proclaims to all the orcs across this Octarius empire that he's forming the Great Waaagh. And he proves his power by slaying a really powerful Tyranid Moloch, which is a pretty big creature.
It's like a fucking 50-foot tall beast.
Yeah. And he just goes out and he's like, I'm the orc, follow me. Boom, dead.
And it just fell down and said, pay me $20 later.
yeah.
And all the orcs followed.
Is this what you wanted?
This is what a Moloch looks like.
Are these the diggers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they create massive tunnels that other Tyranids follow behind so they can kind of pop up in different areas.
Oh, that's a good.
The
Oh,
Tremors one.
I'm trying to find a picture of the scale. But
Oh, there. What, that one?
Which one? That one? Oh, that's a great one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
these things are
It's
huge.
a little towel, yeah.
It's
And he just
pretty
walks
big.
up on the war boss, crumps it. Right in the crumper.
Yeah.
Right in the crumper.
So it kind of like that action kind of invigorates all the orcs, and they can feel his power.
Yeah.
And so they're convinced.
Probably emitting that green energy too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Big green energy.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
Green energy.
Yeah, so they're just convinced at this point. They're like, wow, you clearly are the biggest, baddest orc. Like, I'll follow you.
Yeah.
And so they all rally behind him, this entire Octarius empire now. So he fights off this Leviathan threat.
Tyranid invasion.
Yeah, and then he leaves the system at the head of 5 million orc warships.
Oh my god.
Sorry, what?
5 million orc warships.
How many orcs are in a warship?
I don't know.
That's saying, yeah.
Many.
billion orcs.
Many orcs.
Man.
Orcs. Lots of orcs.
Ghazghkull, at the front of the fleet. Behold, my orcs.
Yeah. Look at all these orcs.
Yeah.
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 So
Like-
at this point, he's really like created the Great Waaagh.
Yeah, and now you can only assume that as more and more orcs hear about it, and as his power grows, they're just going to flock to him now.
Yeah.
He's not going to have to go seek out these orcs. They're going to come to him.
Yeah.
So he leaves the system, and he's like, now let's go find the Imperium, which is, everywhere.
Yeah.
So he can pretty much just go to the next planet. He's going to crump some...
Found him.
Yeah. What a surprise. Supplies.
I'm curious a little bit about the Great Waaagh. Has it ever been mentioned before?
I can't remember any.
Yeah,
time.
me either. But it just seems like it's like built in their religion almost. You know, the wolf times. Space Wolves always talk about the wolf times. Orcs would talk about the Great Waaagh.
Yeah.
So like
they talk about like one day it's prophesied that the great orc will come and he'll lead us into another Great Waaagh and we'll battle across the stars and everything. I feel that. It feels very much like some kind of prophetic thing that's ingrained in their culture or the stories.
I just like imagine like a big orc like knob sitting around a fire with all the like grots and like and everything. It'd just be like, one day the Great Waaagh and
we'll turn the whole galaxy green.
Yeah, and it's just like he just sits there and he's like, that's the days, and like has like a sip of tea,
and then
like,
and then he'll be like, with the power of Gork, and another one pipes up, no, with Mork, and then it just turns into a big fight.
Exactly, yeah.
I like that scene.
Yeah. Now this, so he's doing his Great Waaagh.
Yeah.
And he's now effectively created it, and he's ready to go fight.
Ready to go do the things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this has caught the eye of a couple different people. So the next we're going to talk about is Dead on planet Krongar.
It's going to be Brody.
All right.
Bro.
During the Psychic Awakening, Astartes of the Space Wolves chapter vowed to bring an end to Thraka, chasing him across the galaxy. That resulted in the Battle of Krongar. Wolf Lord Ragnar Blackmane met Thraka in battle, and this is what resulted.
Yeah, so he got so big, he got some people's attention. Now, this is fun. This is some fun new lore that we get to read. So this is all quoted directly off of GW, word for word. So just truly enjoy the well-crafted, it's perfectly seasoned
this
lore.
this isn't us at all. This is actually a quote we just took.
Okay.
Oh, this is like eating a nice
Quote unquote
tender veal steak. Ooh. This is luxury.
The greatest Ork Warboss of the 41st millennium managed to do what no one in the galaxy could manage. Effectively kill Ragnar Blackmane, one of the Imperium's greatest heroes. He didn't have the fight all his own way though, as Ragnar did manage to chop his head off. Of course, such a flesh wound wasn't enough to stop the self-proclaimed prophet of Gork and Mork.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that Ragnar, or that he got his head chopped off and sewn back on. It's a little weird that Thraka lost again.
And just against,
but like orc physiology, we do have examples of them
Of
stitching
course,
heads on.
we know
bodies.
that's not necessarily enough to kill him. It's just what are you can't finish the job, Ragnar? Are you that impotent that you're close enough to swing his head off, but you can't stomp on it once?
Let's read now from Ragnar's perspective.
Okay. Ragnar went hard in his first fight against Ghazghkull, willing to sacrifice his life to put an end to the alien menace. He fought with skill and bravery, but ended up with an arm sheared off, a broken neck, and several fist-sized rents in his armor.
So both are dead now. One has been decapitated. One has been.
Well, do you not remember in the first part it says the Ork Warboss did what no one else could do, effectively kill Ragnar Blackmane.
Effectively,
Which is
being
funny
keyword
because
there.
he doesn't sound dead to me. Do they not know what the word "kill" means?
You don't kill characters.
No, of course not.
Eric.
Yeah. My
You would
apologies.
never do
God damn it.
We only
Get
kill
with
Primarchs.
the program. GW's been doing it for 30 years. Figure it out. After an enterprising Grot managed to find Ghazghkull's head, his remains were taken to Mad Doc Grotsnick, and the Pain Boy had a plan. Lugging looted macrocapacitors into his lab, he began his experiments, and as sheets of green power filled the sky, Ghazghkull lived.
It lives. That's exactly what I get too.
It's alive!
Yeah.
He's bigger and he's stronger. Now the question is, whose body did his head get sewn onto?
I'm betting his own.
had to have
I
been.
am betting his own.
But picture this. That head on a Gretchen.
Bigger.
Oh, even be able to hold. Where's me body?
Yes.
Where's my body?
Oi, Grotsnick, this isn't funny.
And the Ork's just like, oh, you look so funny.
Exactly, right?
Okay, so happy ending for Ghazghkull.
Happy ending.
What about our boy Ragnar?
When the warriors of his great company found his body, it seemed like the young king's saga was over. There was only one option to save his life, attempting to cross the Rubicon Primaris. Ragnar's spirit was strong, and it was not yet ready to travel to the halls of the Emperor. So somehow the Wolf Lord clawed his way back to life.
So what's nice too is GW actually wrote, so somehow the Wolf Lord...
They don't even know
We don't
how.
know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Just somehow this happened, okay, guys? Please believe it.
So, I mean, the Psychic Awakening was not the best lore writing that they've had.
It seemed very rushed and a little impractical.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, most of those books that I perused through, I was kind of just like, eh. And then I was like, maybe the next one.
Great artwork.
Great artwork. 10 out of
Fantastic.
10 artwork. Oh my
For the
god.
artwork. Don't
Yeah.
even need the rules. Just tore those out.
But yeah, like the whole thing with they fought, Ghazghkull died, Ragnar died. They both get back together and they both kiss and make up, and now it's a fun time.
Apparently, too, was it them who fought for 10 days or something?
Apparently they had a duel that lasted
For
10
10
days and
days.
10 nights.
Just the two of them, too.
Like,
The Space Wolves are
Come
drinking, the boys around are
on.
drinking, they're all just watching pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's
like
nice.
it's just,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So
Like, it's not even cool anymore at that point to
No.
me. It just is like, it's a trope. It feels tropey.
Yeah.
well, think about all the Eldar lore that's like they had a duel for 17
So,
days. And
That's one of the only other times, and so it's Karandras and Ara.
Yeah.
And we just talked about that,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the few that I actually appreciate because Karandras is like, he's a sneaky stealth boy. And it
the
makes
battle, maybe it wasn't just like full tilt. The
exactly.
Whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he slips away and he like hunts him for 10 hours.
Sure.
As Ara is like on a rampage, destroying everything around him,
Sure.
and Karandras is just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then he gets a sneak attack in. And
I'm a stealthy boy.
yeah,
I'm a stealthy boy.
Stealthy boy.
Another good example of like these types of battles is Calgar held a gate for 40 days and 40 nights, but he's just killing waves of orcs.
yes, it's not a single guy that he's fighting.
Yeah, it's not a fucking duel for 10 days.
Yeah, it's him in like a Hot Gates type scenario where, you know, he's effectively used terrain to his advantage and he's standing as the final wall.
Yeah.
And that's like a badass thing.
That's a
Whereas,
Calgar thing.
yeah, this just feels
Yeah.
like it's overplayed tropey, and I really, really don't like it.
Yeah. There is one little lasting effect. So Ragnar, he does have two wolves. I forget their names. But both those wolves do die.
Does
Which-
Ghazghkull kill them?
Yeah. And it's like, those are essentially his brothers. So there is loss, there is sadness, but ultimately it's...
Well, now he's
it's just-
Primaris, though,
yeah.
so he's better than he ever
Yeah.
was.
He's thinking to himself, trade off is not bad.
Yeah, he's like, I feel much stronger.
Here's the other nice thing. So we always get the picture of Ragnar fighting Thraka there. And Ragnar's full Primaris when he's fighting Thraka.
Well, they come back, don't they? And
I
they
don't know if they do, man.
No, they don't fight each other again?
No, I think it's just once. They,
Okay.
They fight
No, the prophecy,
they?
yeah. So in the prophecy of the wolf box,
Oh.
it has lore that like he tries to get Thraka again, but
Oh.
then something happens where they get pulled apart.
Oh,
It's
of
that-
course.
it's that trope.
Yeah.
Okay,
we went from
okay.
one trope to
Yeah.
another.
Now it
trope.
sounds like Jane Czar
Yeah.
fighting Draza for the
Yeah.
5th time in 2 days or whatever,
Yeah.
after both of them had died or something. And
yeah. That was what I'm pretty sure I read that.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
I-
And
I'm
then
pretty sure
Thraka's
they
got
go
his
back.
all his gear, new gear and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't read that part. I just read GW's stuff that they wrote for me,
Oh, okay.
and then I thought,
you can't read GW stuff and take it as fact, man.
Oh,
Just telling you
You're not
right
going to
now,
have a good time.
Fan fiction is the way to go.
And then Thraka took off his helmet and pursed his lips and said to Ragnar, "Come here, lover boy."
Thraka with his 50-pound power claw brushes Ragnar's ponytail out of the way. I've been looking forward to this moment, Ragnar.
I've been waiting a long time for this. I've been waiting, you big furry.
You big furry. God.
So that's like this planet Krongar, the Psychic Awakening, his battle with these space wolves. It's how they showed his new model.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So it's like a little bit of backstory, but I think Thraka has been really cool to me up until now. That I hope that they put this in some kind of publication and actually do it real justice, as opposed to like, hey, here's 2 pages of poorly written stuff for it.
Yeah.
So I really hope they
Somehow, the Wolf Lord clawed his way back to life.
Yeah. I hope they redo this in an actual book, because I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much where he is now. He's left these Space Wolves. He's got his new body. He's in a massive new suit of armor. He's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And he's gathering the Great Waaagh.
Yeah. So
I love his new model, by the way.
Oh,
It's
it's
amazing.
It's very good.
This is making me want to buy this. Like, I want to put this in my chapter's lore. This is cool.
The Thraka, yeah. Like, orcs are such a great enemy for Space Marines.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I love, obviously I'm a Black Templar guy, right? And they only care about fighting orcs, really.
Seems to be the general standard.
They're just a classic. They can be similar size to Space Marines. They're as vicious as Space Marines.
bigger than Space Marines.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why in my lore for my chapter they get stranded on a planet with feral orcs.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, this is something that they can do all the time and you'll never have issues, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah. So Thraka is now on the Great Waaagh. He's fully recovered. His head has been stitched back onto some body, and now he's back on the Great Waaagh.
Yeah. Let's.
That's where we leave.
going.
Yeah. That's where he is now.
Yeah.
You know, he's stuck. That's hopefully. Well, maybe when they write more, they advance the story, we'll hear more about what orcs he's gathered or what armies that he's going to assault now as he starts his Great Waaagh across the galaxy.
Like he's got 5 million ships.
5
million. And it's like,
And not
okay, well,
just ships,
how many does he have
battleships.
now?
Warships.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's got 700 million now.
Okay, actually, I'll wait to talk about it later. But I have this idea of what I want from Ghazghkull.
Okay.
But I'll share it later.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a spot for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk about who he is as a person, though.
As an orc. He's not a person.
Real strong character. Real swell guy.
What makes Thraka tick?
Personality and traits. Thraka is said to be one of the most dangerous orcs to have ever lived. He is brutal and cunning. He is large, strong, and tough. But what makes Thraka so dangerous is that he has vision, not just for the present, but for the past, and most importantly for the future, something that almost no other orc possesses.
Yeah.
That's really cool as well, because in the Hell's Reach book, there is one part where Grimaldus was like explaining to one of his brothers, like, these orcs live in the moment. Like their lifespan is measured in moments.
Like a dog would measure their time, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, if they're hungry, they eat. If they're thirsty, they drink. If they want to fight, they fight.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't really have that super planning thing or like legacy building type things.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what they're focused on.
Yeah, and that's really cool because Thraka is just transcended that.
Yeah.
I love that. While more than capable of crushing anything that opposes him, Thraka tends to spend more time commanding his troops, leading from behind and making plans. Thraka has an eye for knowing exactly when to make his move, and he can always be found in the thick of it during critical battles.
Some would say he knows
The perfect,
perfect
time
time
to smash.
Oh, to crumb! To crumb!
It's time to crump, boys!
Yeah, like he can crush anything that opposes him. Like at one point in the lore, he's described as a 16-foot tall orc in mega armor. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, what gun do you need? A fucking battle cannon.
And even then, he's wearing armor so thick he might as well be walking around in a tank.
He's his own mobile killdozer.
I am the killdozer.
He's like, I can still move pretty fast. Put another plate of armor on me.
Just
I
pour
really
some
just
concrete.
need to be able to waddle forward.
Oh,
He's more
man.
red.
Yeah,
more
like
red,
he's
more
crazy.
fast.
There's some great pictures of like artwork of his scale of him fighting like Yarick, and you see the size difference. Then it's just like, whoa,
Yeah, you wonder how
Whoa.
anything could survive
Yeah.
in his path, like one-on-one.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, like he leads his troop. He puts them into positions. He's touring the front lines like we talked about.
Yeah, he cares about discipline, and he cares about strategy,
Yeah.
and he cares about planning. He cares about learning from his mistakes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All very unorky things.
Yeah.
Thraka is described by others as megalomaniacal, a psychopathological condition characterized by delusional fantasies of wealth, power, or omnipotence. I'm super proud because I knew that word from before. Which brings us to the question that Thraka is actually the prophet of Gork and Mork, and everything he does is guided by them. Or is Thraka insane due to the fact that 30% of his brain was destroyed?
Hard to say.
That's
I really like what you said before, was like that adamantium is like an antenna.
Yeah.
It just opened him up to the gods. Like that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
So there's like I think it still can go either way.
Oh yeah, you
Little
can hear
column
it.
A, little column B.
Sure.
Like if you want to choose the route of he's an actual prophet, I think there's enough evidence for you to be like, yeah, like he fucking hears from the gods.
Yeah.
But if you want to go from the fact that it's just Waaagh energy building up around him, as you know, Waaagh energy has done for 60 million years, and they're just following natural orc progression, and maybe this is just another rise of the prime orc, and this is what happened last time as well.
Sure.
Like it's really hard to definitively say one or the other, but I think you get to choose.
Yeah. I think I would have leaned more to the fact that Thraka was insane a year ago.
Absolutely.
But after learning Gork and Mork are real, I'm 100%. Even when writing these notes, I like to throw in like words like divine quests, you know, like add that religious
The hand of God,
Yeah,
or divine
yeah.
intervention saving him, or coincidence that is no longer coincidence.
Yeah. So I think I definitely lean on that. And
Agreed. It's something that, because of that new information, it just makes it that much more appealing.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
And the other really crazy thing is he shows a willingness to work with other humans. At one point,
Or just other races.
Yeah, and to work with, sometimes that does mean enslaving. But at one point, I
Ork's
forget,
gonna
was
orc.
it the first or the second or the third war with von Straub?
That's the third war.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did kind of... Now, if you're familiar with the second or third war for Armageddon, because there's a lot written about them, you'll notice that we missed a lot.
Yeah, like this
of
isn't
stuff.
an Armageddon episode.
Exactly. We wanted to pick through and give you the orc perspective of this thing, which is really tough because the stories aren't written from orcs. They're written from about humans defending and all the crazy things that the humans had to go through. And they don't talk about what went on in the orc lines and how they planned their battle strategies and what they had to overcome. And so it's a little frustrating, actually, as I was going through this. It just made me wish that they did more non-human centric perspectives.
Sure.
So there's one part Mark's talking about. So von Straub, at the end of the Second War, he's labeled a traitor. Really. Helbrecht gets him and throws him in prison.
No, Dante.
Oh, Dante.
Dante.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. Dante throws him in prison and says, like, you're going to be tried on charges of murder and assassination and
Treason, I'm sure. was in there.
negligence and treason because, you know, you failed to do your duty as the overlord. Which is, like, in my opinion, Dante should have just killed him.
Yeah.
But, you know, Dante. He's too nice.
Good guy, Dante.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, trying to be the ruler over here or something. So he goes in prison. He escapes because, you know, he was the overlord. He had
He
some
probably had
people
guards under his sway.
Yeah, exactly. People in friendly places. So he actually lives until the next war.
Sure.
And Hive Acheron, which had been tried to be assaulted in the Second War, Straub is in a position during the Third War to infiltrate Hive Acheron and cause it to crumble from within. And the deal that Straub made with Thraka was that Straub would get to rule it once Thraka won the planet.
Yeah.
And he would be able to rule Hive Acheron, you know, go from his disgraced position of like a traitor back to some weird ruler. And you can only assume that now he's going to, you know, be a bad person.
yeah.
But
Are
yeah,
we the baddies?
like that is Thraka making a deal with like a human who's in like a position to be manipulated, and it really shows foresight on Thraka's part. He's like, what are the weaknesses in this place's defenses other than its physical things, you know?
Yeah.
What's the political environment like?
Sure, yeah, like he would have been paying attention to
Yeah,
that.
exactly. How can I access communication with this guy and keep it like open and secure and stuff? So there's serious like forethought in
Yeah.
what Thraka is doing.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a great example, and we left it out because we not trying to make this an Armageddon.
I knew we
von
would talk
Straub.
about it here anyways.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
but yeah, it's very cool that he does show that. Like, who knows if he was actually going to hold up his end of the bargain? Who knows?
Oh, Thraka?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a different
who gives
question.
a shit? Yeah,
either
right.
way, like
Either way, he manipulated von Straub to overthrow an entire hive. for him,
yeah.
right? He won that thing without raising a single finger. That's great for an orc, and that's very un-orky thing to do. Orcs are just like, you want it, let's just go get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not plan and sedition through, So
Yeah.
That's cool. He's a smart-ish orc. He's like a regular human's IQ level, that orc. Yeah.
wow.
Very neat. So that's his kind of personality. He's big, he's bad, he's green. He's willing to work with humans. Ish.
Ish. Yeah. Keyword ish.
Ish.
Let's talk about his war gear. So recently, after Thraka's resurrection by Mad Doc Grotzniks, he has been wearing a massive suit of mega armor, which is the heaviest variety of orc armor. Mega armors are powered by exoskeleton suits covered in plates or metal to offer as much protection as possible. The armor itself is very complex for an orc and requires the use of built-in bionics. Because of this, it doesn't see widespread use.
Yeah. So you clarified something when we were kind of preparing this, is that mega armor is kind of a catch-all phrase.
Sure.
And there's no
It's not like
a Space
Terminator
Marine
armor.
mark. Yes,
Yeah.
where you look at it and it's a uniform thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more just like you put enough plates on it, we're just gonna call it mega armor.
It's actually determined by how fast the orc can walk. Because once you get so many plates, you can only move so fast.
Yeah, and then what you can actually do is add power converters more on this.
Yep.
And so some of these mega armor people are actually faster than regular orcs.
And they're just wearing regular armor then? Or is that mega?
No, it's still mega armor.
Dear Lord.
Yeah. And apparently these actually weigh. So while all of mega armors are insanely large, they weigh more than a ton.
Oh, jeez.
I'm
Okay,
pretty sure
okay.
isn't that 1,000 pounds or something?
1,500.
1,500 pounds? That's a lot.
That's a lot
to
of
carry
weight.
by a single guy.
Yeah.
So Thraka's is even bigger. And this was just me having a little orky fun, and he probably just follows the orc philosophy.
Well, if one armor is good, then two is better.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
Because of the power output and weight bearing capability of this humongous warsuit, Thraka is able to wield a power claw of tremendous size. It's a four-taloned, four-fingered, and called Gork's Claw. On his other arm, he wields a four-barreled cannon called Mork's Roar. Very cool.
Yeah. I absolutely love his power claw.
Yeah.
It's
it's huge.
Cleavers in each hand.
It literally looks like he could just pick up a space marine and crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Absolutely.
He's
Looks like a
crazy big.
really big slap chop.
His biggest slap chop. Give me onions.
Yeah, that's kind of his war gear. He has a boss pole, and he has actually a very specific banner that he takes everywhere, but he doesn't take it.
Well, on his very old models,
Yeah.
he actually had the banner on himself. And it was just this orc with 3 shooters on it, but very old school, 1980s, 1990s style.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't great.
even the model before this one, it didn't have that banner. It just had the boss pole on it, which really elevated his size because it made him big. But now I think with his model, this is much more to what I would expect the scale to be.
Yeah. So let's talk about Thraka's future's goals. So what does it mean to be Gork and Mork's prophet, and what do you think they want Thraka to do? So we kind of read that quote earlier of what the gods actually said to him or wanted him to do, and there's some really interesting things. One of the crazy things was the first thing he has to do is go and fight every other orc warlord. He has to be the number one. So that's always interesting because he has to unite the race, then he has to go and wipe out every other race, and then he has to fight with his own race for the end of time.
He's got a lot on his checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step 1, get all the orcs. Step 2, kill everything else. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit.
TBD. TBD.
Is there anything you guys would like to see him now kind of do now that he's out and about?
Well, thanks, Mark, for asking me. You know what? First, long-time listener, first-time caller. Honestly, what I would absolutely love from Thraka is, I mean, he already has his quest.
Yeah.
But I would love to see him want to find Gork and Mork.
Sure.
So he's been in communion with them for so long. We now know that Gork and Mork are real entities and that he actually can find them. Because it's one thing if he's like, I'm going to go searching for them, but they might not even exist.
Yeah.
But it's another thing if they're like, come find us, you know? Like, I would love for him to like take his world killer, whatever, space Hulk he's on right now, and just fly it into the Eye of Terror, and he's taking a bunch of weird boys with him, and all like his crazy people, and he's like, I'll be back, and he just goes and finds Gork and Mork somehow. So.
Does he bring him back?
I don't even know if I need a resolution to it.
Just that he's gonna.
Because at some point, if he continues growing, you can only assume that he's going to be too big. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want another The Beast thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a super huge fan of these like jacked up singular individual people in 40K. I'm much more a fan of the individual like regular guy. So at some point he's going to be so powerful that it's like not even Mortarion can defeat him, or like all the Chaos Forces can't do it. So before I think it gets to that point, I'd like to see him turn into like some kind of Russ type deal where Russ is like, I'll go and I'll be back when it's the right time. So Ghazghkull is like, I've had a vision, this massive thing is going to happen, and in order to stop it, I'm going to go get Gork and Mork, and I'm going to bring them or bring their power out to us. And, the orcs will live in like this new era or whatever.
Utopia of violence.
Utopia
exactly.
of
And then he just
violence.
disappears into the warp, and, you maybe see him every once in a while, and he kind of just turns into this spiritual like leader of the orcs. I think that would be cool.
And maybe there's rumors that he does come out, but it's never confirmed.
Or like orcs like won a crazy victory and no one knows how it could possibly had happened.
But there's a huge 20-foot tall orc scene.
Well, now he's
rampaging.
50 feet tall, right? And he has these like, when he shows up, the ground shakes and the sky turns green, and all you can feel is this ghastly fear running through your body as Gork and Mork's power just transcend onto this planet and overtake it. Yeah. I think that would be really cool for him to turn into, but I also am totally fine with him staying on the tabletop as he currently is.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that story.
That's really good.
I ran away with it.
You're a storyteller, a natural storyteller.
Natural storyteller. I think that would be really cool, and I think he is a good, like, the orcs don't need like a necessary like revamp of their model range, but I think it would be a really cool thing to use him to like redo their weird boys and have like a weird boy unit like go on there with him, because he loves weird boys.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be a cool thing where like you see the more psychic side of orcs get into the whole lore and gameplay.
Yeah, and I think even them confirming Gork and Mork, it only opens that avenue more, because Weird Boys were just weird. Before they were kind of just like, you need them because you need an outlet for the Waaagh energy, but they were nothing other than that. They're just conductors. But now it's like, well, they do that and they can commune with your actual gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
They're still fucking weird.
They're still weird, and we still don't like the Ed banging.
But
So I agree that this kind of opens up a more avenue for Weird Boys to find a different place now in Orc society.
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, you have any fun theories you wanna?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know enough about orcs to give into that, but I'm just gonna agree with Eric's story, because that was just so good, man.
Believe it or not, I too will steal his answer.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's quality, man. I hope that it gets written.
What Eric said?
But in all fairness, I had like all day to think about this.
Regardless, man, that's quality still.
Yeah.
I love that.
No doubt.
Yeah. Thraka's pretty fucking wild. The other really cool kind of thing about Thraka, this is just a little side note, he's had 4 models since his inception.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, like he might be the most modeled person. Like the next one maybe is Calgar. Maybe Ragnar Blackmane. I think he has
Ragnar's
3
got
or 4.
3 I that I know of.
Yeah.
but who am I, really?
Who are any of us, really?
Yeah.
I
But
like
yeah,
the
it's cool.
Warhammer.
I like Warhammer.
I'll pull up his picture
nice.
here, actually.
Yeah.
I suppose
The-
I'm capable of that.
The very first model of Thraka on the Lexicanum, it's just said it's an orc conversion.
By
to be-
Andy Chambers.
Yeah, so a very well-known name in the early years of Warhammer for sure.
I love the classic.
Yeah, so even
Look at those boots!
so yeah, you can even see on his banner. That's it's an orc with the 3 shootas.
And it's a goddamn gene stealer orc.
Oh my god! Yeah,
I love the classic Warhammer. That's
Yes.
so good.
Okay, let's go back.
I love how the bases are all just too small for them.
Yeah, right?
It's just
then-
made so much better.
That's his next one. He kept the skull boots. Very nice.
Love the
Yes.
skull boots.
and he actually
Not
got a
have
lot more
skull
skulls
boots.
on his body.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he still keeps that one
Banner.
banner of himself.
And he's using a
Yeah.
sword too, which
Yeah.
is interesting. And then we got that Thraka.
So
Is
what
that one?
what edition was this?
I think this was 3rd edition
Wow.
Thraka.
So to go from 2nd to 3rd, that's a pretty big
'cause, like,
model, like impressive. What do you
yeah.
quality? Pretty big model quality
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 4th, but it's relatively new.
But this is
Well,
the
not
one
new, but-
where he abandons the banner and he only takes the boss pole now.
yeah, he gets rid of his sword too, gets a massive fuck off power claw.
Big cannon,
And then finally we got his new model.
My.
which is
It's just so beefy,
It's
and
so beefy.
so savage and brutal.
Yeah, he's huge.
That is
So
beautiful.
huge.
He's huge.
But he is still on a hero rock.
Oh yes,
So,
always.
Well, he's a hero.
Yeah, yeah, a hero of the orc race.
That's
A
right.
hero rock.
Yeah. No, he's seen some decent upgrades.
Yes.
In his models. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we want anything else we want to talk about Thraka before we jump into his accomplices?
Well, yeah, I think I'm good.
He's pretty neat.
I like him.
He gets a neato from us.
Absolutely.
Warhammer
Yeah.
ranks him neat.
Brody
friend him on
approved. Neat.
He's very cool. He's one of those characters I think that if you just do a brush on him, you might pass over it, or you just go for like what's a Ghazghkull meme?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know if like he's popular enough for people to meme. Orcs themselves are just a meme.
Yeah,
Really.
there.
So,
Their whole thing.
but
Yeah,
I-
it's not like he's like Abaddon with
Exactly.
his failed memes.
Yeah.
and
So I was gonna say, just like Abaddon, though, you can get like a piece of him, and you don't appreciate it then.
Sure.
No.
But I think when you sit down and you actually look at his progression, like I
Sure.
am way more impressed with Ghazghkull now than I was 24 hours ago.
Oh yeah. When we planned the episode, I think I started off by saying, "So has he taken Armageddon yet?" Oh,
Yeah, right.
Oh, what the fuck?
And then you go through it and you realize like Armageddon isn't that as big of a deal as Games Workshop seems to hype it up to be for him.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. One thing I forgot to talk about is like Ghazghkull seems to kind of almost toy with things. Like he toys with Yark. He might have been toying with Armageddon the whole time too. Like
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not having any fun anymore, so I'm leaving.
exactly.
I'm here for the funsies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he's like that. So
Yeah. He's a creature of impulse to me. I see that a couple times where
Yeah.
it just things happen and he's like, okay, like I'll do it, like
Yeah,
no
yeah.
problem here. He's impulsive. He's hard to like nail down, and I think a lot of that comes from his self-proclaimed prophet of the Waaagh.
sure.
And the communer of the gods. So
Yeah.
I love him. I'm
character.
way more impressed with him now than I ever was.
Yeah.
But he is not alone.
No.
And every good leader has a good sidekick.
Do we want to do the sidekick first, or
No, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, they're both technically his.
okay?
Yeah.
So the story would not have happened. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for Mad Doc Grotznik and putting that adamantium plate into his head.
So Grotznik is crazy because he's been with Thraka since day one.
Since Urk.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does leave at some point, but he comes back to Thraka when he calls the Great Waaagh.
Of course, yeah. You can't ignore the call of the Great Waaagh.
I honestly didn't know that he was with Thraka. Like the whole.
Oh,
like,
neither
like,
did
from
I.
the beginning. I was
Pretty
like,
much.
I just thought he was an independent character, and then, like, because of the Great Waaagh, he went back. I didn't know he was any of the reason.
Oh, me neither. It was all brand
Yeah.
new to me, yeah.
So, Mad Doc Grotznik is an infamous orc that travels with Thraka. Grotznik is, like most other pain boys, completely insane and obsessed with surgery. Surgery? How do you say that, Orky?
I honestly
Surgery.
just say... yeah, that's good.
Perfect. He has experimented on himself so much that he has become even more resilient and demented than most other orcs. His implanted bionic weapons make him a fearsome killing machine in close combat, and he's more than willing to experiment on any hapless orc who ends up on his operating table.
I love how they, like, you need pain boys.
Yeah.
Because orcs obviously need surgery,
Yeah.
right? But you don't want surgery.
No.
Right? Like, almost maybe don't cut me open and make changes to me.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, exactly. You've got no legs. No, I haven't. You've lost an arm. No, I haven't. I mean, that's how I see all of them being like, please don't operate on me.
Orc looks at him like, "Why do you have a bone saw?" I cut my finger.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
You want me to cut your finger? Okay.
No, that's not what it
it's just a table saw. That he,
yeah, right. Skill saw.
yeah.
I got this at the Home Depot.
Nice product placement there.
Oh, yeah, I know,
right? He works for Home Depot, so.
Yeah, I just started.
Well, you can show them your bosses this. And
Oh,
then,
perfect. Yeah, that works.
They like that kind of thing, I think.
They hate Warhammer.
I kind of see that as like I saw this meme this one time. There's these two Imperial Guard that were like injured.
Yeah.
And one of them's like, "We need an apothecarian," and this apothecarian comes and like pulls out his drill thing. He's like, "I need to stab you." And he's like, "No, you're gonna kill her." And he's like, stabs, blood's flying. And we're like, "No!" And she gets up. She's perfectly fine. Like,
Oh, I feel better.
that's what I imagine with the orcs. They just like hack off a limb. They're better.
Oh my
Just so
God.
good.
It takes off a hand.
My knee feels much better.
I mean, all of this almost perfectly sums up orc surgery.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So Grotznik is best known for the doc who performed the surgery on Thraka, turning him into the war boss he is today. Suddenly extremely popular, Grotznik looked at a mob of orcs waiting outside his tent and saw another great opportunity. He convinced the richest knobs of his tribe that they too have need for the procedure that saved Ghazghkull. What Grotznik didn't tell them was that each cranium contained a portion of a high explosive that he had a remote control trigger hidden away from each of them. The work kept rolling in, and knob after knob with mental craniums offended Grotznik. He had no issue detonating their later upgrade. So he put bombs in their brains. And
He literally is just like, all right, I'm upgrading you. Let me put a kill switch inside your brain.
You're
love
so
it.
much better now. You're so much better at listening to orders now. The surgery was a success.
It's a success.
That's wild.
Like, but I look at him like in that point where he's like getting business. It's like, so he's a plastic surgeon doing upgrade.
Oh, absolutely.
I want the new plate look.
Well, eventually the knobs figured out what was happening. Realizing they could not tackle Grotznik face to face, they organized an accident instead.
Accident, quote unquote.
Grotznik was called out to take a look at a faulty Death Dread, which is funny because he's not a mech boy. But anyhow, orcs aren't smart. But he was in for a nasty surprise. Grabbing Grotznik with the Princer, the Dread held him down in the dirt and used its massive circular saw to cut open the doc's head. Okay, so he was dead.
Yeah.
He essentially was killed. As Grotznik's Gretchen orderly looked down upon their dying master, they too saw a great opportunity. And they
Orcs are nothing if not creatures of opportunity.
They dragged the doc all the way back to the medical tent. The orc died several times that night, but was miraculously saved from death. Though alive, Grotsnik was driven quite mad, and immediately detonated the craniums of every knob in the camp as he danced in the moonlight.
I love it.
I hear like the Sugar Plum Fairy is playing in the background, and he's just click, click, and these heads are just exploding around him. It's like a Kingsman.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yes.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Since that day, his experiments have become even more bizarre, such as replacing his own limbs with those from unwilling orc donor. That's a nice leg.
I like that leg.
Orc surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
And replacing the brains of those seeking his services with a live squig.
Oh my
It
god.
is even rumored that he's building his own composite super orc out of organs and body parts donated by his customers.
I want to live.
Super orc.
Oh my god.
So if it was not for Ghazghkull's patronage, he probably would have been killed long ago. After Ghazghkull left Armageddon Warzone, Grotsnik followed suit and took part in the Great Waaagh. As Ghazghkull subjugates rival warlords and add their forces to his own, so Grotsnik picks over the casualty and takes the best wounded for his own nefarious purposes. The best wounded.
That's a good wounded orc right there.
That one's not too bad.
I'll take him.
Yeah, he's. I mean, like all pain boys,
He's fun.
he's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
It makes me want to do orcs because I'm like, I want a Grotsnik.
Every time I do orc episode, I fall in love with one more thing.
Right?
About them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, he's suffering from poor model syndrome.
Yeah.
He needs an update. This one is looking wild.
Because there is a nice pain boy model, right?
Yeah, there's a really nice one.
It's like that one with the syringes on its finger.
Yeah.
Like you see how cool they can make it, but they just
Yeah.
oof.
no.
Yeah. Grotsnik could use
He could use a little bit of work.
some
but
love.
That's life, you know. Okay.
Updates are never a bad thing.
What's that?
Updates are never a bad thing.
No, of course not.
Never.
Okay. Up next.
So another person that has been with Ghazghkull through thick and thin is Makari.
Through standing and sitting.
Right. Oh, low blow.
Carry on.
You really. No, I can't think of it. Is Makari the Grot. And Makari is the personal banner bearer to Thraka. And if you look at the really old second edition, I think that's the first time. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
He's just a little grot.
Little grot.
He's the personal banner bearer to Thraka. He has seen countless battle zones, and somehow, against all odds, he has survived 9 years in this role.
I love it.
Yeah. The banner he carried was eventually dubbed the Lucky Stick.
And he was dubbed the luckiest grot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the fates are cruel. And while he was the luckiest grot for those 9 years, he was eventually sat on by an uncaring Thraka, and his corpse fed to a squig. And so ends the story of Makari the Grot.
Wow.
Or did it?
Or so the rumor goes.
Makari is back.
Oh, what?
Or at least a new grot called Makari is back and carries Thraka's banner. There's the idea is that, you know, like they just don't live long, grots. So every time like Makari dies, a new grot is put in his place, and Thraka doesn't care about their names.
Yeah.
It just calls it Makari.
Yeah, exactly. You're Makari, right? Like it's a completely different grot.
Yes, sir. That's me.
Yeah.
Like, reporting for duty.
Yeah, please don't sit on me.
Oh, man. I was looking through the Games Workshop community page. It's worth a read reading the Makari's Saga of Makari, the Grot Awakening page.
Oh yeah.
They write it so humorously. There's some like asterisks. They're making slanderous claims that Yumi's it's just propaganda from Humies that the Grot died, and like the humans were afraid in the trenches of Makari, so they made up this rumor that he was sat on, and The post was worded really well, really enjoyable read. So go read it for sure. That's my story.
Yeah, it's good.
That's my story.
That's all.
Almost everything until recently that Games Workshop puts out with that orky flair, I really like it.
Oh yeah.
They really like get into the whole role of the orc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. So that guy's back and with his buddy old Thraka, and they're conquering the galaxy together.
Yeah. As you can see, the banner has kind of disappeared. They don't really have that same one anymore. He kind of just carries the boss pole or the lucky stick now.
For a while there, the lucky stick was a relic you could take when he was dead. Yeah, so people would model the banner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
On other orcs. But yeah, you could take it as a relic at one point.
Cool.
Here's some stat lines. Do you guys want?
Wow.
Yeah. The Makari Stabber, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah,
It's
that was
like,
ridiculous.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
use
because
it.
grots aren't
okay.
powerful.
Melee, strength users, AP none, damage 1. Abilities. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, a wound roll of 6 inflicts D3 mortal wounds on a target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the attack sequence ends.
Yeah. So if you
Wow.
fight, if you fight with him, if your opponent like is attacking you,
Yeah.
and they attack him first,
Yeah.
and he kills somebody or does D3 mortal wounds, he can't attack anymore, and then the orcs get to attack again.
Wow.
It's like, oh great,
That's super cool. I've never
it's
seen a
very
rule like that.
orky.
Yeah.
It's very
I
orky.
just imagine like on the battlefield, everyone's just like watching this happen. They stop and look like, what?
Right?
What?
It's got another rule. Accidental figurehead. Friendly Goth Gretchen units can use this model's leadership instead of their own while it's within 12 inches. It's cool.
Accidental figure.
Right?
What's his leadership? Oh, a big old 6.
Wow.
Better than a 4.
Yeah, better than a 4.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
So yeah,
okay.
Makari the Grot has been with Thraka for a long time. Who knows how long? Actually, it doesn't mention him on Urk. And Makari, it says only 9 years. So he definitely wasn't even around for the Second War of Armageddon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's got the Grot. He's got Grotsnik. He's got his Great Waaagh, and
It's 5 million ships.
yeah,
Which is
5
ridiculous.
million
I can't get over that number.
Yeah,
it's
wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
5 million warships.
Yeah, and like not just here's a drop pod that we're towing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
considered a ship.
Very
And
cool.
that's Thraka.
Thraka, I hope you guys enjoyed. Message us what your favorite part about Thraka is.
Yeah, tell us
Yeah.
all about it. I'll love it. Like, tell me what you like about him. Tell me what you don't like about him. Join our Discord and let's talk about Thraka together and how
Yeah.
cool he is.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Well, before we actually sign off, obviously, we want to thank all the newest members of our Patreon, our Imperial Tithers, as we call them. So thank you so much to Ghost
Oh,
of...
could I read them? I feel like I have never thanked these people.
You
I
absolutely
got
can.
this. Ghost of a Ghost, thank you. Jaden, I won't do that for everybody. Dragorn11, Free Pizza, Ian, Roy, Colton, Stickmaster, Finn, Tony, Dankman Schmidt, Larson, Coldun, Cooter Maniki Weeks, Dino Wizard, Kroll, Joshua, Kaylee and Bailey, Tim, Fuzzy Cat, Kenyon, Dave, Charles, Ian, Justin, Zach, Dylan, Arcas, Leo, Brock, Andreas, Shattered Chaos. Thank you guys all so much for becoming a Patreon.
Thank you so
member.
much for supporting us.
Supporting the
it's very,
show.
very encouraging. Yeah.
Good job.
Well, that was it for this episode.
Yeah.
We hope you guys enjoyed Thraka. Thank you so much, Brody, for joining us, and
You're
Josh.
welcome.
It was awesome.
Always a pleasure.
Pleasure is
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, you
Not
drove
his,
all
it's
the
mine.
way down from Edmonton
I
just
did.
for this.
Was it worth it?
It was worth it.
Oh wow! Thank
I had,
goodness.
I had
That's the
a,
first time we've ever heard that.
it's not worth it because you guys, because I got to get up early and get to Starbucks before the lineup.
Oh.
So that's what made it worth
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Normally, people who have to drive like 5 minutes tell us it's not worth it.
Yeah, no, 3 hours, definitely not. No, it was awesome. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
it was a pleasure to have you guys on. For all of our listeners out there, it was a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah.
As we explored Thraka together. For all of our people on Patreon, it was a pleasure for you to watch. I assume. I don't know.
It was a pleasure.
It's probably not a pleasure.
They get to see this. Not good.
And final thing before we go, next episode, I'm not totally sure what I want to do. Send me a message. The topics are Tau, third sphere expansion, or we got a Necron episode, and we want to talk about like all the new Necron stuff, destroyer cults, cryptic, so
Flayed ones.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
So shoot us a message what you guys want to hear about us talking about next.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, from all of us, we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye guys.
See ya.
Peace.